I'm Chanel. Welcome to another reading vlog in March. So far I've had a pretty decent start. I'm going to start this one off with a DNF, but it's actually been a pretty good week this week. I've already read a lot. I've had a few people mention their awe in how much I read. Some people doubt how much I read. I am a fast reader, so I started reading at the age of 4. I didn't make any friends until I was 12, so I would spend not only all of my time at home in my bedroom reading alone, but every lunch at school I would just be in the school's library reading. And I think just spending literally every hour of my life that wasn't eating or being at school reading books allowed my brain to be able to read a lot of words per minute. So I don't skim, I don't see the point of that. I either read a book or I DNF it. It's just one of my biggest passions, I guess, and I love to read, always have. I think I probably always will, but because I started so young and I just voraciously read so many books, my brain's able to read really quickly. So some people ask me for tips and tricks, but I don't know. It's just I've always read for 34 plus years, so just why that way that I was able to do it at a faster pace, I guess, than the average. But I also, my job, which is futures trading, consists of me sitting at a desk watching charts. So for a lot of that time, I do read because I don't need to be watching my eyes glued to the charts the entire time. I can just keep glancing up and checking them. So I do read whilst I am working. And I think that is a big way that I get a lot of reading done. But also when my kids go to their dads on Sundays, I don't do anything. I just stay home. So I would say I would read at least 8 hours minimum on those days. So I do get, a lot of reading as well in per week, which is what contributes to me reading, I guess, a large amount of books per month. But without much further ado, let's start. So I did pick up Womb City. This is a sci-fi book in which people are able to transplant their consciousness into the bodies of, I guess, formerly deceased people whose consciousness has vacated the premises. And you've got a woman who is married and is in an abusive marriage in which her husband every morning, as part of their routine, sticks a USB cable into her head and watches what she got up to the previous day. Just need to sit up and change my legs. So for me, I decided to DNF it, I think, very quickly at 50 pages because I just didn't want to get in the energy of a very oppressive, abusive, controlling marriage. It was just too much for me. There was already mentions too of previous miscarriages, and it was just very, very, very dark, and I didn't want to read it. So this is a case of just not the vibe for me at this point in time. The next book that I picked up was Worst Wingman Ever. Did this book make me cry? Because that was the prompt that I chose it for my TBR, and yes, it did. It made me cry so much. So this is a 5-star book for me. This is just amazing. Abby Jimenez is my absolute favorite contemporary romance author. She makes me laugh, she makes me cry, she makes me kick my feet with glee every single time. Her characters just feel so real to life for me, and the issues that they're facing normally hit in some way, and her sense of humor is right up my alley. So in this particular very mini novel, I believe this is around 60 pages or so. This is just a book about a meet cute, so how a couple comes to meet and then it ends. I think it's part of a series on Amazon Unlimited. But in this particular one, you have a character named Holly who's a hospice nurse, and she is caring for her grandmother at the end stages in her life. So as I said previously in my TBR video, my grandmother was given 2 weeks to live. We were told that she would be passing away and to spend as much time with her as we can. So seeing Holly go through the stages of this event, which very much mirrored what I experienced with my grandmother, including like the dips and then the rises that they go through when they are starting to fade out. It was very emotional. Like I'm hugging myself right now because it was very emotional for me. It hit a lot. She was also going through a breakup at this time, and while she's going through this, she gets a letter on her car, left on her windshield on Valentine's Day. It is not meant for her. In the card is a very vulgar message, obviously meant for another woman from her probably less than stellar boyfriend, and it turns out that another gentleman had done his friend a favor. His friend had asked him, hey, can you put this on my girlfriend's car? He'd gotten the wrong car. So when he found out too what was in the letter, he was mortified that he just left this on some unsuspecting woman's vehicle. So he went back with an apology note saying, I'm so sorry, this was meant for somebody else. I've subjected you to that. I'm absolutely mortified, please forgive me. And that starts an exchange of notes and gifts left on her car between them. And it's just so darn adorable. It's so freaking sweet and heartfelt. And I think the best thing about Abby Jimenez's books is that the main characters are so incredibly kind. They are just really kind, good people who are just going through some shit. And that's what resonates with me the most. That's what I love the most, I think, about her books. So this was 60 pages of an amazing time. I felt all of the emotions and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So highly recommend if you're just looking for a bit of a palette cleanser as well. This is a great book to pick up because it's so short, but it's so sweet and it's truly lovely. The next book that I picked up was The Illuminations by T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher is definitely a hit or miss author for me. My favorite book of hers was Nettle and Bone. And I've been trying to find that since with her work and I haven't. Besides that, I also loved A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, which is her middle grade, and this is a middle grade. So I thought I'd be fine, but I've given this a 3 stars. So you have Rosa Mandolini, I think she's around 12, and she lives with her family in this giant house/studio, and all the members of this family are illumination painters. So the magic in this world is that you paint certain objects, for instance, like you paint cats with green eyes to ward off rats. There's very specific combinations of what you paint to do certain things, and they're infused with magic and they work. So you have paintings to stop things from going moldy, you have paintings to purify water, paintings to deter burglars, like a whole smorgasbord. There are a couple of families who do this, and there's a bit of a rivalry between them in terms of them all clamoring for the commissions. But what happens is Rosa doesn't seem to have the knack yet. All she can draw is turnips, and she draws them with fangs and they don't do anything, but she just feels compelled to do that. And then one day in her boredom, she finds a box with a crow on the lid, and she keeps finding herself turning away from the box and forgetting it, because that's what the painting of the crow does. It makes it so you forget what it is you're looking at. She finds a way around it, and naturally she does a Pandora and opens a box and unleashes an evil, vicious monster who is set on their family's downfall. But there's also a painted crow named Pain. So this is a painting that has come to life, which hasn't previously been done, or so they thought, and he's meant to help her catch this monster. However, there's a plot device that I absolutely despise, and it's when a character is going through something and they choose not to tell people that love them and trust them and could help them what is going on. And so they wait and they do it alone until things escalate to a point of absolute catastrophe where they finally come clean and say, hey, I did this is going on, can you help me? And I hate that. I hate it so much. I hate that I had to read half of this book with everything going to hell on a pancake. I know that's not the term, whatever the right term, phrase that is, I will put up. I don't think, hell in a handbasket. That's the one, hell in a pancake. Anyway, to hell in a handbasket. And then she finally goes and gets some assistance. And it is just so frustrating. So yes, there are lessons here of you don't have to shoulder everything alone. Ask for help. There are people that can lend a hand and can be of assistance. And sometimes working together yields better results. And there's also, the whole thing of finding your place in a family and your place in the world, and what is it that you do that is special. So I won't give anything away, but this was also the first book though I've ever read where I didn't like a crow character. It's a sad time. It's a sad time for me. I really did not like Pain the Crow. Times like this, I wish my bedroom wasn't right at the front of the house where everyone can see me. That comes to deliver. So yes, I was saying, unlikable crows. Can't believe I've said that, but this talking crow was unlikable and frustrated me to no end. So yeah, it's a 3 stars. It was it's okay, but it wasn't amazing. So, but I get that with T. Kingfisher. It's pretty much it's a 3-star or it's a 5-star. There's no in between. And then I read A Fate, Inked in Blood, and this was 4.5 stars. This was fantastic. So this is a Viking fantasy. It is brutal, it is bloody, and it is brilliant. I really enjoyed this. So you have a character named Freya, and she definitely went through it. So she was made to marry the fish guy in the village. So basically in this world, there are Norse gods, and sometimes those Norse gods deign to bless a mortal with a drop of their blood during conception, and they are God touched, God blessed, God children, whatever you will. And they can have powers that are associated to the god that participated in their conception. So her husband is able to bring fish into the village, but he is a nasty piece of work. He's greedy and jealous and gross, and basically he put every other fisherman out of business. He made it so the fish only came to him, and then he charges exorbitant prices for the other people in their village to purchase fish from them. He's also incredibly abusive to Freya, and Freya has been using some very dodgy contraception, do not recommend, to avoid having a baby with him. She does this to protect her mother and her brother, but she's harboring a secret, which is told in the plot synopsis, so I can tell you. Basically, what happens is one day she's going down to throw some poor fish back into the sea that he's unnecessarily brought to shore, because he's really spiteful and vindictive in that way. He once played with a whale, bringing it to shore and then letting it go back and then bringing it back, and he was basically torturing it. So that's the kind of stand-up guy that he is. But basically, he's made all these fish beach themselves, and she's trying to save as many as she can, and she throws a fish and it hits some very spunky, beautiful, strapping man who was washing himself in the ocean. And insta-lust, baby. Insta-lust between these two. There is flirtatious banter abounding. But she's like, I'm a married woman. I must not. And she gets him to leave. And then lo and behold, the Jarl arrives along with her husband and this very mysterious, attractive man. And her husband has decided that he wants to divorce her. And to do that, he has told the king about her magic. So she is also God touched by the goddess Hill. Illen, I don't know how to pronounce the name, it's Nordic, but basically she's a shield maiden. So she has the power to protect people. So she can call upon her goddess, and any shield she's holding, she can form a shield barrier. So the king naturally is like, oh, well, you're coming with me because there was a prophecy that a shield maiden forged in fire would make someone king. So you're going to marry me. And she's like, no, I don't want to. And then she is forced to fight to the death with his son. And who's his son? Of course, it's the hot spunky man. So she has to fight him to the death. It turns out hot spunky man is also God touched by the god Tyr, I think, the god of fire. And so they start dueling. Anyway, things happen, and she ends up being betrothed to this king who already has a wife and is very not happy about the situation. And all the while she's fighting this very strong attraction and connection to his son, and he's also doing the same. But there's a whole thing of meddling gods and brutal war and politics at play. A lot of battle scenes, which I didn't mind. She is quite ferocious and fierce, but she doesn't really know what is going on and whose side to be on. And of course there is a conflict and a betrayal at the end, but it doesn't feel like a betrayal or a conflict really. It's just a case of, Freya, you need to open your eyes and take a look around and maybe hear some other people's point of views before pointing the finger and calling people traitors, you know? But there's also some heavy like family dynamics in this, like some toxic family situations going on, and knowing that your families are pieces of shit, but still feeling obligated to care for them. Just all of that kind of situation. But I really enjoyed this, and I will definitely be continuing on in the series. There is spice in this, okay? There's some stuff going on. There is full penetration. So that was a nice added bonus. And the last book I read for this, oh sorry, Bluebell, just gave her a whack, for this reading vlog is Thrown in the Dark. So this was so ridiculous, so silly, so over the top and campy, but it was a fun time. And you know it's that right as soon as you start, because you've got the main character surmised as this. Okay, ready? Dark Lord Demon Spawn, prophesized realm destroyer with a demon for a father, Damien Maleficus Bloodthorn's destiny could be nothing but nefarious. And with the completion of his most vicious spell, Damien is on the cusp of fulfilling the evil inevitability all his dark machinations have led him to. So it is extra. You know what I mean? It is extra. So basically he's got a big demon daddy who's been trapped in this crystal shard, and he's got to get him out and break him out. So he's a blood mage who performs magic with his blood, and he does a lot of evil shit for shits and giggles. Basically he cannot love, and he's just a big caricature of a bad guy, but you know, he's smoldering, he's broody with attractive scar to boot. And whilst he's trying to enact his plan to save Daddy Dearest, little bumbling lamb Amma stumbles upon him and ends up complicating things and needing to be a part of his quest. This is very much a grumpy sunshine trope. I loved Damien. I loved his dark grey morality, but Amma, on the other hand, she was just too naive, sorry, it's my neighbours again, all the time. Oh my God. Too innocent, too damsel in distress. I needed my women to have some kind of like basic survival skills or will to fight or zest about them. And she was just too passive and submissive for me, even though she's meant to be like a thief and you don't understand what she was doing when she intercepted Damien. So there's a bit of mystery as to who she is and what her agenda is. But yeah, she was just too much on the placid for me to really love that. However, there is a delicious slow burn tension. They do not kiss in this because there are some ethical issues involving their entwinement. So I'm glad that they didn't sort of act on that at this moment. But oh my God, do I just want them to make out and do other naughty things to each other. I have to get to that point. This has just been one big flirtatious tease and it has me dying. Oh, that's another thing. This woman is, I think, in her 20s at least, and she's had multiple sexual partners, and there's actually a very unnecessary SA scene in this that I don't feel like it needed to be there. It just felt very out of pocket, but she's been around the block, and yet she thinks that Damien has never even kissed anybody. And I'm like, girl, read the room. Like, Damien's been with not just women, but men as well. Like, he's tasted many treats, and there's just no way that you would be around this person and think, oh, they're complete virgin, never even kissed it. No way. No way. And I just, at that point, I'm like, woman, come on. Like, what? But my favorite part of this book is her first introduction to him is he saves a street cat. And how can you not fall for a man who will pause his evil rampaging to heal a kitty? Like, how can you not? So will I be reading the next one? Yes. I have to see their relationship progress. I have to get some sort of spice to satisfy the foreplay that was basically this entire book. I was so devastated when I realized obviously this is not a standalone. I was like, no, come on. It was like midnight. And I'm like, God damn it, it's too late for me to go and borrow the other ebook immediately. At least I hope the library has it. I haven't checked. I will be doing that because if they do have it, that's what I'm reading next. I have to continue on. But those are all the books I read this week. So I had a really great reading week. Yes, I DNF'd Womb City, but worst Wingman ever, 5 stars. A Fate Inked in Blood, 4.5 stars. Illuminations, 3, but 3 still decent. And then Thrown in the Dark, 4.25 stars. Like I said, I think this would have been really great if the female character was a bit more ballsy and feisty. I need a little bit of spine, you know? It also is a very silly book, so you can't take it seriously. It is redonkulous. They've got all of the bad guys in this book have insanely overwritten names, but then you've got Dave who likes to do yard work at dawn. So that's his bad name instead of like Draconicus, the abominable blah blah blah, you know. So you've got that juxtaposition, and then Daddy himself, the dad's vernacular is hilarious. Like, you think this very evil god incarnate would be menacing, but no, he's like, good morning champ, how's my favorite son? Oh buddy, you look like you need a hug. Minion, go over and give my son the cuddle he needs for his heart. Like, that's the dad. That the dad's like, well, way to go, boy. You've done a great job. Don't overtax yourself. Make sure you rest. So I'm like, how evil could this dad be? What did he do besides probably killing and maiming? I don't know. He seems like a good dad, man. At the end of the day, like, Damien won't have daddy issues at the least. But yeah, I had a great week. Oh, it's just the best when you read books you like. Hey, so until next time, stay wild, Star Child.